Am I the a-hole for not leaving an equal share of my inheritance to my stepchildren as my biological child in my will? Plus mini update. I, 55 male, married my wife, 52 female, 2 decades ago, bringing with her 2 children from her previous marriage, 27 female and 30 male. We also have a child of our own, 19 female. I am the primary breadwinner. My wife has always been a stay-at-home mom to raise all 3 children, and since they have left, continues to run the house, and I am more than happy with this arrangement. Most of our joint assets therefore came from my income, as my wife came to the marriage with no assets. We are aware that wife's ex-husband has had a windfall of inheritance money, as conveyed by my stepchildren. This means that my stepchildren are said to inherit that windfall if not squandered. Their paternal grandmother and other family members are still in the picture with possible inheritance that may yet be passed down. Conversely, my biological daughter would not benefit from that inheritance money and would only benefit from whatever inheritance I can give her, as no other relatives in the picture that could support her or leave additional inheritance money. I have therefore chosen, with support from my wife, to will a larger portion of inheritance to my biological daughter. For example, if my wife died in an accident tomorrow, we would be leaving about $900,000 in assets to 19 female, and $25,000 each to 27 female and 30 male. 19 female would have no family support, thus relying entirely on the inheritance money, whereas 27 female and 30 male will still have other family members that can support them. If ex-husband died tomorrow, 27 female and 30 male are likely to receive $250,000 each in assets if not more, and will still have us to support them when needed, as we currently do. When we discussed this with 27 female and 30 male, emphasizing that they are set to receive inheritance from ex-husband and potentially others on his side of the family, they determined this was unfair, that my assets should be split evenly between the 3 of them. I retorted that if their father died, would 19 female get any of that inheritance? And they said no, because he is not her father. To be fair, they do look up to me and consider me as a father figure even though I am not their father. Therefore, I am wondering if I am the a-hole? Now for the top advice before the mini update. Not the a-hole, but I see no reason why you ever should have discussed it with the 3 kids in the first place. You and your wife are in agreement. Why ask the kids for their opinion? Especially since you're only in your 50s. I don't think it's to get their opinion. I think it's so everyone is on the same page in case anything happens. Deaths can tear a family apart, especially when there are surprises in the will. I think it's smart, even if the stepkids didn't like what they heard. Exactly. When people have these conversations, it's usually an effort to avoid anybody being blindsided at a time they already lost their loved one, or an attempt to explain the reasons behind the decision to avoid any animosity while everyone is grieving. I'm going through this with my grandmother right now, and her reasoning is that it's important to her that she knows if there's anything of hers that's really special to us. For example, I want her books, because she and I are both avid readers, and even though we like different genres, having them would bring me happiness and make me think of her. None of us is gonna come out and say that stuff to her, so if she didn't ask, she wouldn't know. You are likely going to get crap on here, but I'm going to say not the a-hole. The sub seems to think step-parents have to be perfect and there should be no differences ever. First off, I personally am fine with step-kids getting less of an inheritance. I say this as someone who grew up in a blended family. Throw in the face that their father has a totally separate inheritance for them and they'll have more anyway. I'd say your stepkids are just greedy. Also, there are 2 adults contributing to the inheritance, mom and dad, and not just mom. So at minimum, a fair split is that the youngest gets 2 times what the older children get. But I think it's fair to skew it to try to give all 3 kids roughly the same in the end when factoring in their dad's contribution. Not the a-hole. Very telling that they said no sharing their inheritance because their father is not her father. How is that different from them and you? They are being greedy OP. You can tell because they think it's unfair when you do the exact same thing to them that they want to do to her. Now for the mini update. I've been looking at some really insightful comments about how to calculate what to give my stepchildren, with a number of comments suggesting I do need to give more. 1 or 2 people have suggested a formula of first splitting assets in half, considering 50-50 between wife and myself, and then dividing the 50 between the 3 children, essentially giving my stepchildren about 1/6 each. However, as noted above, there is more to consider here than a simple division, such as support from others. But also, some of this is physical assets like a house that cannot be simply considered as cash value. But it is clear that we, wife and I, in this joint decision should be willing a higher amount to my stepchildren. Next story. Am I the a-hole for throwing away the expensive whiskey my brother got me for my 40th? I'm 40 male, just turned 40 last week. I'm divorced and have 2 teenage kids with my ex-wife, 17 male and 14 female. My whole family came to my girlfriend's apartment last Saturday for my birthday party. My parents, some aunts and uncles, some cousins, my 3 brothers with their families, my 2 kids, and my girlfriend's 15-year-old son who lives with us. I am a recovered alcoholic, and I've been sober for 6 years now. Alcohol absolutely ruined my life. It destroyed my marriage and nuked my relationship with my kids for years. So I don't allow alcohol in my home now, for anyone. It just isn't served nor tolerated here. My entire family knows this very well, as they know my entire history with it. For my 40th, my brother bought me a very expensive bottle of whiskey. It had writing on it, a very heavy bottle and very old whiskey. So it probably cost him a couple $100. When he gave me the bottle, I was shocked and said, "I don't drink, but thanks for the gift." He then opened the bottle and started pouring shots in plastic cups for everyone. My daughter had a panic attack at the smell of the alcohol, which I am painfully aware is my fault, and I will never forgive myself for it. So I told my brother to take the alcohol out on the balcony and just leave it there. He wouldn't do it and took a shot of the whiskey. I told him to seriously stop it, and he proceeded to pour the whiskey. He then said I'm acting like a sober saint now, when I ruined everyone's birthdays for years with my drinking. I told him to come to the hallway with me and talk it out. He refused and put a glass of whiskey in my hand. I took the trash can, threw the whiskey bottle in it and the plastic cups and took the trash out. My brother then stormed off and my mom followed him. She later called me, demanding an apology for disrespecting my brother like that. My dad said I was being overly sensitive, and some of my other family members also agree. Am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. What your brother did is really, really awful and cruel. Possibly the worst gift I've ever heard of someone giving another, especially as he is aware of your struggles and recovery. Congratulations on recovery and standing up for yourself and your family. And I can't believe the rest of the family supporting the brother and calling Opie disrespectful. It's a bizarre world. I know. It's basically a miracle Opie is safely in recovery with that kind of support system. Kudos to Opie. I knew a couple where the husband was an alcoholic but tried very hard to stay sober. Every time he had a few successful weeks, the wife would buy wine to celebrate and ask him to have 1 glass with her. Just 1 glass. You can do that. One really don't need enemies with family like that. Not the a-hole. Brother was being horrendously terrible/taunting. Read a room, dude. Especially the pain this caused the kids. Not a situation to double down on your bottle flex. Mom and anyone upset at Opie can pound sand and get their juice on their own time. Opie should have drain-poured it to prevent them from dumpster diving afterwards. I say this as someone who drinks. The level of disrespect shown Opie here is off the charts. Now contact a lot of them. He should have poured the whiskey on his brother's dumb head. Like, what the heck did I just read? I hope Opie goes no contact with him and everyone enabling his brother because holy smokes. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking my grandma's heart? My 16 female dad is a horrible person. I'm sorry, but he just is. He isn't all that terrible to me or my brother, 17 male, but he's horrible to our mom. Growing up, it was very obvious that our dad saw our mom as lesser than. He'd yell at her over everything and made her responsible for everything. Cleaning, taking care of us, etc. My mom never said anything and tried her hardest to make it seem like everything was okay. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I'm too scared to stand up to my dad. I always freeze. My brother, on the other hand, does not care. He yells back and isn't afraid of anything. I think my brother realized I'm too scared to protect our mom and recently told us that he's going to college nearby and will be commuting as the college doesn't require first years to live on campus. My parents were confused and my dad was a little upset. He kept telling him that he's going to miss out and he'll regret it, but my brother didn't budge. Mom even told him that he should go and that she'll be fine, but my brother just said that they're lucky he's even going to college. Well, yesterday we got a surprise visit from our grandma, Dad's mom. She never visits, and when she does, she also just treats my mom the same as dad, so we weren't very excited. But we were civil, because, well, if we aren't, then she'll find a way to blame our mom. It was okay at first, but then she asked my mom, "Is this what you wanted? Are you proud of yourself?" My mom started to shake, but my brother immediately got in between them. Grandma just rolled her eyes and asked my brother if he was really going to throw away his life just because he thinks his mom's too fragile to survive without him. My brother didn't say anything. I then spoke up and said, "It's not because of mom, it's because of you and dad. You guys are horrible, and you really need to get the heck out." My grandma immediately started yelling at me. She said that she expected better and said that I'm rude, disrespectful, and bratty. She then told my mom that she raised horrible kids before leaving angrily. I know I was just standing up for my mom, and my brother keeps telling I'm fine, but I feel guilty. My grandma apparently adores me according to my dad, and I really broke her heart. It is not like I made things better, maybe even worse. And now my dad is expecting me to apologize, but I don't know if I want to. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your dad is just manipulating you by saying you broke her heart. Doesn't sound like she has one to break anyway. For real. My grandma apparently adores me according to my dad. Really? Because he just called you rude, disrespectful, and bratty, and said you were a horrible kid. I know it's awful to finally see her for who she truly is, but she only liked you because you didn't stand up to her or your dad, and let them walk all over you. The moment you spoke up with them, they both turned on you. That's what abusers do. Not the a-hole. Yeah, seems like the father inherited the lack of heart as well. The father and grandmother are the only a-holes in this situation. But I hope Opie and her brother tried to formulate a plan to help their mother to leave, because she's probably dealing with a lot more abuse than they realize. Especially if she's literally shaking with fear in response to something like her old mother-in-law getting pissy with her. Not the a-hole. While perhaps not the most tactful thing to say, it sounds like this has been building for a long time, and you are human. Your feelings and emotions are justified. I highly suspect that your father is using your grandmother's broken heart as a form of emotional manipulation. I would wager this is something he's done countless times to you, your brother, and your mother. Have you spoken to a trusted adult or a therapist about some of the things happening at home? Neither you nor your brother should have to feel like it's your job to protect your mother. It has been building, and I guess I also took out my feelings regarding my dad out on her as well. And I don't know. My brother always told me not to tell anyone and that he'll handle it. So I guess I haven't. I think my mom's siblings once tried asking me about the situation at home when I was younger. But again, my brother said not to say anything, so I didn't. Thinking back, I think they know something's up. Not the a-hole. Your father and grandmother owe you, your mother, and your brother an apology. And I hope someday your mother will leave this mess. I hope my mom does too. It's hard though. He doesn't give her any access to money and she hasn't had a job in years since my dad made her quit, so I can't blame her. My brother and I have been saving up though, and my brother's planning on taking extra classes so he can get through college as fast as he can and land a good job. I have faith it'll work. I doubt we'll ever get apologies though. I figured your father was the typical controlling a-hole. I hope your mother doesn't feel obligated to stay with your father for her children's sake, because that is fairly common. Last story. Am I the a-hole for making my parents choose between me and my ex/former friend? I was best friends with Jen from preschool through 9th grade. Her home life was pretty rough, and she practically lived at my house, and my parents called her the daughter they never had. When we were in 9th grade, I asked her out. It took some convincing, but she eventually said yes. She broke up with me over text the day after our date. She barely went to school, didn't text, and wasn't at my house at all the next few weeks. She eventually showed up at my house in the middle of the night. I took her in, no questions asked. Then she left in the middle of the night a few weeks later. I admit I didn't love having her around. It didn't make it easy on her. But apparently her leaving was hard on everybody. My parents even had to go to therapy. Last year, I moved out for college, but I was still planning on coming to visit. A few months after I moved out, Jen showed up at my parents' house pregnant and with a baby. They took her in again, then called me and my brothers asking how we feel about her staying with them. My brothers were okay with it, but I can't forgive her for what she did a few years ago. My parents let her stay anyways, but said they had conditions on her staying with them, like her going to therapy and either enrolling in college or getting a job. I told them I still wasn't okay with it. We argued a bit and I told them I wouldn't visit if she was living there. She's still there, and I held true to my word and I haven't visited since. They're trying to get me to come for Christmas, but I won't be there if Jen is living there. So now they're calling me petty and saying I need to forgive her, but I think I have a right to be upset. So at 15 you were told no, and then after bullying her, which you refer to as it took some convincing, she eventually said yes. You had one single date, which you harassed her into agreeing to. Then you referred to her not wanting a second date, which she also didn't want the first date either by the way, as breaking up with you. She then spent weeks avoiding you, which you still didn't pick up on. You don't say how old you are now, but it's clear you still resent her for not wanting to date you. You're the a-hole. You forgot the part where OP didn't love having her around and didn't make it easy on her, meaning that OP took a home life that could potentially have been stable and safe for a girl whose original home life seems anything but, and turned it into a living hell for her, all because she turned down a second date after having been bullied into a first one. OP, I disagree with your family. You don't need to forgive anything, because you have nothing to forgive. She did nothing wrong. What you need to do is beg and grovel and pray for forgiveness from both her and your family for everything you have done to make this girl's life a living hell. If you can't do that, keep staying away. It's better for everyone, especially that poor girl. Not to mention how low she must have been feeling to willingly return to the home of a boy who made it a living hell for her. OP, she was desperate enough for help from the only people, read your parents, who showed her any amount of compassion and kindness that she decided dealing with your pathetic butt was worth it. Update. Am I the a-hole for threatening to kick my soon-to-be wife out of the house? Original post. My fiancé, 27 female, and I, 30 male, have been together for 5 years now. We're getting married on October 25th, and we can't wait. We rarely get into fights or arguments, but this really just made me frustrated. My soon-to-be sister-in-law, 36 female, recently got a divorce and has been staying with us for the last 4 months. At the beginning, I was fine with it. Stay here for a couple of months, get situated, and find a place of her own. That does not seem to be the same thought my sister-in-law had in mind. She has not paid any bills or any expenses. I'll come home from work and my fiancé and her will be hanging out on the couch watching TV or having a girls' night every night. I rarely get any alone time with my fiancé anymore, other than sleeping together in the same bed. My sister-in-law has a full-time job and makes decent money, enough to afford an apartment. I got home from work last night, and there they were, just watching TV in the living room, eating takeout, didn't get anything for me, and I just blew a fuse. I said I'd had enough, and that my sister-in-law is a grown woman and needs to get a place of her own. My fiancé stood up for her sister and said it's not fair. I then told her, then you can go too, and you guys can get a place together. Eventually, I went to our bedroom, laid in bed, and eventually fell asleep. This morning, my fiancé was sleeping next to me in bed. I got up, got ready for work, and left. Am I the a-hole for threatening to kick my fiancé out? What should I be prepared for when I get home? Should I apologize for freaking out? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Just the fact that they didn't get you any food is BS. It was an extreme example of discounting OP's presence in the home. Isn't that the truth? Was he supposed to prepare dinner? OP, honestly, this may be a blessing. A sneak peek at your future bride after the dust settles. Sounds as if you have 2 roommates. Let your fiancé determine which roommate she chooses. Frankly, I wouldn't give her a choice. She's already walked all over you for 4 months. Lol, you were a bit harsh, but overall not the a-hole. In what world is it not fair for a 36-year-old to be expected to live on her own, or at least contribute toward living costs? Your fiancé enjoys having her sister there, totally understandable, but she should enjoy you more than her sister. Otherwise, why are you getting married? I would apologize for how heated you got, but I wouldn't apologize for voicing your frustrations that have been building up. Your fiancé needs to choose who she wants to live with, you or her sister. When she answers that question, you'll know what to do. I would explain why you feel like you do, that she spends more time with her sister. Every day is a girl's night. What about date nights? Then she has a job and should pay her part of the expenses. Honest question. Over the last 4 months, have you and your fiancé had discussions about a timeline for her sister to move out? Or have you been agreeable the entire time? If yesterday was the first time you seemed bothered, then yes, you may have approached it wrong by having your blow-up be the first indication that you were upset. 4 months is a long time to be crashing at someone's place, especially if she has a job and can afford to move out. No way would I tolerate an adult doing this to me without chipping in financially. But if this was the first time you expressed your aggravation, you might come off looking like the bad guy here. On the other hand, if you've discussed this with your fiancé several times and the ladies are just ignoring it, I think your outburst was justified. Good luck tonight. Hey, wait a minute. You get the heck off Reddit with your common sense, calm approach, sane suggestions, emotional awareness, reading comprehension, and grammar and punctuation and stuff. How dare you? Now for the mini update. I appreciate the feedback from all of you so far. I do feel guilty and have anxiety for blowing up. I definitely should have just sat down with them and talked it out versus blowing up. I am definitely going to apologize for my behavior when I get home. For awareness to address some questions I saw, I have asked for alone time, and we get some, but not as much as we had before she moved in. Maybe I just missed that. Her sister has always lived near us, so they used to hang out often, and I'd just go play golf or hang out with my friends. I guess I'm just not used to not having the place to ourselves and not getting that alone time anymore. Now for the full update. Hi all, I know a lot of you wanted an update for when I got home last night. To some surprise, at least it seemed like it to most of you, we communicated. And it went well. When I got home, they were both sitting at the table ready to talk. I spoke through my frustrations and built up energy, and my sister-in-law said I was extremely fair. I apologized first for acting like a child and not communicating from the very beginning about a plan for her. Sister-in-law apologized and gave her reasons, not excuses in my book. Details: she was in pain shortly after the divorce and wanted to be with her sister and me since it was the most comfortable situation. My fiancé apologized next and mentioned that she also missed the alone time we used to have, but was making sure she was there for her sister. For arrangements/plans, sister-in-law is now filling out applications for apartments and will be touring this weekend. She got us a full home deep cleaning service and gave my fiancé and me massage gift cards. I did not ask for any of that. After we sat down and talked, sister-in-law then went to the bar to hang out with some of her friends. Then my fiancé and I went out to get all-you-can-eat sushi, my favorite, and she paid to make up for last night's dinner plans. We talked about everything and how we need to communicate more. We're looking to book a little long weekend vacation for Memorial Day and are building out an itinerary. She's a vacation planner, so pretty easy, haha. All in all, everything seems to be more fluid now with all three of us. I truly am the a-hole for not doing this from the very beginning, like most of you mentioned, and I'm glad I got some great advice from a lot of you. Hey, the power of communication wins again. Congrats on owning your response and having a healthy conversation. I agree, but really the situation shouldn't have gone as far as it did. OP's fiancé was torn between the two desires, and then fully invested in one and ignored the other. I'm all for helping people when they need it, but anybody with half a brain could have seen that he was being pushed into being the NPC in his own home. I would have agreed with all this if fiancé hadn't bought takeaway for herself and her sister and forgotten all about OP. It's like she and sister-in-law regressed and were reliving their single days together. She needs to build back trust with OP now and show him that she will prioritize him going forward. Glad everything seems to be working out and that they both realized that you exploding like that was because of bottled up feelings. Wild to see how many posts in the original thread are telling OP to reconsider the marriage and leave his fiancé. Glad OP took the reasonable path instead. Right?
I'm like, whoa. If OP didn't say anything before to set some sort of timeline or boundary, then you can't really blame his fiancée and her sister for their behavior because they didn't know it was an issue. Now they know, and they're taking steps to fix it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not going home during our semester break and letting my family deal with the mess they made? So, for some context, I'm in my second year of college and transferred to a school 2 to 3 hours away from home, so I stay in a boarding house. After my mom passed away a year ago, I took over a lot of household responsibilities, cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, because, well, someone had to. My older sister is a nursing student with a crazy schedule. My younger sister isn't very independent, and my cousin, who moved in at my dad's request, helps with cooking. But that's about it. At the start of the semester, before I left for school, I made sure the house was spotless. The laundry was done, the fridge was stocked with fruits, veggies, and meal prepped food, and everything was in order. I figured they'd at least try to maintain it. But no. The first weekend I came back, the house was a disaster. Shoes were scattered everywhere, dishes were piling up, trash was overflowing. Unfinished takeout was rotting in the fridge, and my meal prepped food completely ignored. I was frustrated but cleaned it up anyway, thinking they were still adjusting. I reminded them, nicely, to at least clean up after themselves. Not because I was a clean freak, but because I want them to live in a clean and healthy environment. It was one of my regrets when my mom died from health complications, and I deeply blamed myself. The next weekend, same mess. And the weekend after that. At that point, I was done. Home was supposed to be a place where I could rest, not somewhere I had to play housekeeper after a long week, so I just stopped going home. I made excuses, school projects, group hangouts, whatever it took. Then semester break came. It was also a big religious holiday where we honor the dead, and family would be coming over. Normally, I'd be the one running around, making sure everything was clean and prepared. But this time, I told them I had papers to finish and wouldn't be coming home on time. In reality, I knew that if I wasn't there, they would have to clean the house themselves. And sure enough, while I was away, I checked our group chat and saw them absolutely panicking. They didn't know where things were, struggled to buy all the food they needed, complained about not having space to prepare food because the table was too cluttered, and even ran out of clean plates. Honestly, I felt satisfied knowing they were struggling. I came home the day after the holiday to spend time with them and visit my mom's grave. As expected, they hit me with, "Oh wow, how convenient that you couldn't come home earlier." But the house? It was cleaner than usual. Not perfect, but better. I know they'll probably slip back into old habits, but at least now they've felt what it's like to handle things without me. Maybe next time they'll think twice before taking it all for granted. So, am I the a-hole for ditching them and making them clean up their own mess? Now for the comments. Oh wow, how convenient that you couldn't come home earlier. Nah, totally planned. Because if I came home earlier, you'd expect me to clean up after all y'all, and I'm done with that. Laughing at this. But seriously, you need to tell them that you're not going to be coming back just to do cleaning and then follow through. You don't live there. I still have to go back sometimes since I also need some things back home, but I have also mentioned this a few times and discussed with them. You would be the a-hole if you kept cleaning up after them. They're grown-ups, and in the end, it's clear that they can act like grown-ups, not the a-hole. Right, you are not the maid. You are not home to create any of that mess, so why should they expect you to spend your only free time cleaning up after them? You are right, and I don't expect them to do much but just keep up after themselves. This is where you are wrong, OP. You have nothing to expect as you are not in charge. They are. Mostly certainly, your father is. They need to take care of the house. Now, maybe their expectations of cleanliness are below yours, but the household management is no more under your responsibility. Make sure they got the message. Talk to your father. Actually, my father doesn't live with us and has mostly put us in charge about every household stuff. Sorry for not clarifying that in the post. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take back a gift I gave to my now ex-boyfriend? Here's a quick brief. My ex, 25 male, and I, 21 female, broke up about a month ago after 3 years together. It wasn't a dramatic breakup, more like we had grown apart, and I was tired of feeling like the only one putting effort into the relationship. He wasn't a bad guy, just kind of emotionally lazy, if that makes sense. Anyway, last year for his birthday, I bought him a really nice leather jacket. He had always wanted one, but he never splurged on himself, so I saved up and got him one that cost around $400. He was obsessed with it and wore it constantly. After we broke up, we had the usual awkward period of no contact. Then, out of nowhere, he texted me saying he had some of my things and asked if we could meet up. I agreed, thinking it was just a quick exchange. When we met, he handed me a bag with a couple of random things I had left at his place. Some hair ties, a book, and a hoodie. Then he held up the leather jacket and said, "You should take this back. It doesn't feel right for me to keep it." I laughed a little and told him, "Dude, it was a gift. It's yours." But he kept pushing, saying that wearing it now just reminded him of me and made things weird. I told him he could sell it, donate it, or throw it in a bonfire for all I care. It's his jacket. That's when he got annoying. He started saying that me refusing to take it back was messing with his head and making it harder for him to move on. He said I was being cold and immature for not just taking it back so he wouldn't have to think about me when he saw it. At this point, I was done. I told him straight up that it wasn't my problem. I had already processed the breakup and moved on, and it wasn't my job to manage his emotions anymore. He called me selfish and walked off with the jacket still in his hands. Now, some of my friends think I should have just taken it back to keep the peace. Others think he's being ridiculous, and there are his friends who say that I ruined our relationship for petty reasons. I don't know. It may be a bit too much for me right now. Am I the a-hole for ruining our relationship? My ex-husband did this when I was getting divorced. I told him if I took back the gifts, I was gonna sell them. Then I did it. You didn't have to take it. He was perfectly capable of getting rid of it if he didn't want it. However, you missed out on getting some money back, lol. My thought too. I would have sold it myself, not even given him the option to. Not an a-hole, just an amateur mistake, lol. Take that money and run, girl. Now I understand what you meant when you said he is emotionally lazy. What was really happening was he put his emotional needs on your back and asked you to carry them for him. Like a child to their mother. Ugh, how exhausting, how unattractive. I'm glad you pulled away and broke it off. Well said. Very icky. Very childish. A man-child throwing a tantrum. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my pregnant girlfriend? I, 24 female, and my girlfriend, 24 female, have been together for almost 3 years. My girlfriend has BPD, and if you know anything about it, then you know this relationship has been anything but easy. I've always contemplated leaving, but now it's the straw that broke the camel's back. My girlfriend has an ex, 27 male, that she is still friends with. At first, I was wary of the friendship because of how close they were. Still sharing a bed, he takes her to the spa and gets her nails done. But over time, I stopped caring because my love for her started to dwindle away. I always tried to make things better, but he always drove a wedge between us. Recently, about 4 months ago, we went to a party and he was there. I left early because I wasn't feeling good, and I took the car with the expectation that he was going to drop her off, or she would call me to pick her up because she was drinking. Neither of those happened, and she ended up sleeping over at his place. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago. She has missed her period and has been feeling sick, so she took a pregnancy test. It was positive. I know he's the father, and I can't stay with her. She's calling me an a-hole and a hypocrite because the plan was for us to have children in the future. But obviously, I don't want a child under this circumstance. Am I the a-hole for leaving her while she's pregnant? Edit. Just clarifying, since I think some people missed that we are or were in a lesbian relationship. Unless I missed something in biology, obviously it is not yours. Not the a-hole. It is completely reasonable to leave someone for cheating. Testing for STIs. If she cheated with her ex, who knows who else she cheated with? Not the a-hole. This relationship was already difficult enough that you were thinking of leaving. You were rapidly falling out of love. Now she's cheated on you and gotten pregnant. If she needs someone to support her through pregnancy and birth and to raise this child, she has the baby daddy. She doesn't need you. Plus, she will cheat again if she gets away with it this time. You may have planned for kids in the future, but that was the future, and I'm sure you had a vision for how that would happen. Adoption or surrogacy most likely, and this wasn't it. Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids for several weeks while she is on a baby moon with her boyfriend? Original post. I, 28 female, have a sister, Jamie, 38 female, who has 3 kids. Melanie, 11 female, Sarah, 8 female, and Carl, 5 male with her ex-husband, whom she divorced 6 months ago due to her cheating with her current boyfriend, Daniel, 62 male. Jamie's kids are absolute brats. And last time they came over 3 years ago, Melanie smashed a vase, and Sarah scribbled on my Uggs with permanent marker. This was when I decided to become child-free. I also decided to distance myself from them, though I do speak to them and we have occasional family dinners at my aunt's place. Anyway, Jamie and Daniel are expecting a child, a boy, and they decided to go on a baby moon, which will happen in a week. They're not very wealthy. Jamie spent nearly all of her money on the trip, and Daniel will be working double shifts until and after the baby moon to support them both, so they did not hire a babysitter. Yesterday, Jamie unexpectedly called me and asked if I could babysit her kids. I said no, as I have been getting a degree online and have to fly to my university for my graduation ceremony. At first, she tried to persuade me, saying her kids are absolute darlings and that I won't even notice they are there. I told her my answer was still the same. Then she went off on a rant and called me all kinds of things, like that I'm a heartless bee who can't have a little compassion for her poor pregnant sister. I told her that if she wants somebody to work for her for free, she can actually get a job and not sleep with men who are literally old enough to be her father in the hopes that they are rich. She hung up and is now bombarding me with texts begging me to reconsider. I am beginning to feel a bit guilty. Should I have been nicer to Jamie? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. You are under no obligation to babysit your nieces and nephews, especially when it's for an extended period and you have your own commitments. Your sister's behavior is unreasonable and disrespectful. Baby moon? Folks are just making up holidays on the fly now. Not the a-hole. It meant for first-time parents. The last time it's just the 2 of you, not for a 4th kid. Why can't you leave them with their daddy? He lives in another country. Then that's the country they should vacation in, so he can keep the kids. Bro, try and tell that to her. She's literally going to a tropical island that's a 5-hour flight from here. If she'd had to go to her ex's country, she'd have to pay for round-trip 12-hour flights for 2 adults and 3 kids, plus hotels, cabs, food, etc. And she'd have to take her kids and not get the chill baby moon with her baby daddy that she wanted, because she'd have to take the kids and communicate with her ex. Now for the update. Last night, Jamie texted me. She seemed upset. Apparently, she had to cancel her baby moon because I rudely denied the amazing opportunity to watch her kids. However, not everything from the canceled trip was fully refunded, so she demanded that I compensate her for the rest, and also pay for a fully funded trip to Disney for her, Daniel, and the kids. She also sent me links to several things, such as a pack of Japanese, expensive, diapers, baby clothes, baby shoes. What baby needs mini Asics that cost a fortune? And other stuff, totaling about $500. I didn't text back and blocked her. Later, Daniel called me. I didn't pick up. At about midnight, Jamie showed up at my house and dropped Melanie, her 11-year-old, off. Now I'm conflicted. Should I call the police and get Jamie in trouble and possibly get Melanie in trouble with Jamie? Or should I go to her house and sort this out myself? Did Melanie say why she was dropped off? Also, honestly, sounds like the relationship between you and her is over. I'd plan to go no contact. She said it was because her mommy needed her auntie to be a good aunt and watch a child for once in her life. The aunt is me. Your sister is just like my cousin. Will post constantly on Facebook about her children being her world, but would drop them all the moment a new baby daddy enters her life. What a sad existence. Not the a-hole. Call the police. Tell them your sister abandoned her child and that she has threatened to abandon all of her kids and disappear for multiple weeks, whether you're available or agree or not. Let them come and get your niece and make her face the consequences. Unless you give her consequences, she will continue abusing you, so it's the only way to stop this for good. Take action. She broke the law by abandoning her daughter when she knew you were against it. Let her face child services and the police for it. Also, call the dad and offer to testify to give him full custody if he wants it. Reaching out to the dad could really help. He needs to know what's going on so he can protect the kids. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to maintain a bond with my granddaughter after my daughter asked her uncle to walk her down the aisle at her wedding? For context, a month before my daughter married her husband, I filed for divorce from my wife. My wife had emotionally cheated on me for a couple of months, and I couldn't really get over it. Now, while the timing wasn't great, I just did not want to be with my wife anymore, and I did not want to pretend to be happy with her. My wife and I informed our daughter, and we were honest about what happened since our daughter was an adult. However, my daughter was devastated and asked how I could do this to her just a month before her wedding. She said her mom clearly regretted what happened and was desperately trying hard to save the marriage. But my daughter said that regardless, she understood my decision to divorce. But why would I do it just a month before her wedding, the happiest day of her life? The whole thing was a mess, but my daughter did get over the shock after a week or so. However, she was really angry with me, and even though I was invited to the wedding, she withdrew my invitation to walk her down the aisle and asked her uncle to do it instead. It really hurt me, but it was my daughter's special day, so I didn't make a fuss. At the end of the day, I was happy for her. She at least did a father-daughter dance with me. However, after the wedding, I gradually distanced myself from my daughter. She understood the reason for it. A year later, my daughter apologized for not asking me to walk her down the aisle. I told her it was okay and that there was no reason to apologize, but there was also no reason for us to have a bond anymore. My daughter thankfully understood my decision. It hurt me to say these things because she looked really sad, but it was time I put myself first. A few months ago, my daughter gave birth to her first baby. Over the past couple of months, she has been calling a lot, apologizing and crying, because she really wants her daughter to have a bond with me. But the truth is, I just don't care. I feel emotionally detached, and at this stage in my life, I don't want to put effort into someone who betrayed me so badly. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I lost my mom 2 years ago. Now your ex-wife is thankfully still alive, but your daughter's behavior and yours reminds me of my own behavior and my father's following my mom's passing. Just pain everywhere. I couldn't talk to my dad because I couldn't handle his pain as well as my own. My dad now feels emotionally distant from all his children, even those who've been in constant contact, and by extension from his grandchildren, because he's numb with grief and, understandably, resentful that his later years aren't going as he planned. What you and your daughter are experiencing sounds like anger masking grief. It is totally understandable, but my best advice is talk to your daughter and enjoy your grandchild. Let the child heal the rift between you. There's a whole new vista of love and adventure wrapped up in that kid for you, right there. It's not really a matter of who's the a-hole. It's a matter of what's going to make the rest of your life happiest. I'm just an internet stranger, so disregard if you like. But I'd be grabbing the new opportunity for joy and love with both hands if I were you. All the best. Excellent advice. My family fell apart after a parent died. It's quite common. Divorce and weddings are right up there in terms of stress, and all these things tend to bring out the worst in everyone because they're just so incapacitated by grief and pain. Take this advice, OP, for your own sake most of all. Not the a-hole for feeling that way, but you're the a-hole for telling your daughter that everything is fine, that she did nothing wrong, and that all is forgiven, while getting increasingly angry about it. This gave her no chance to mend fences with you because she didn't know anything was wrong. You need to get some therapy for yourself. This won't necessarily make you forgive her or have a relationship with your grandchild, but it may help you deal with what happened. It may also help you understand whether you do or don't want to have a relationship with either your daughter or your grandchild going forward. It may even help you determine whether you want to ask your daughter to attend family therapy with you. On that part, I feel like this is an everyone sucks here situation. But it is possible to forgive and move on without going back to the status quo or re-establishing ties. OP and others who feel they have been slighted by someone don't owe them any obligation to mend fences and repair the relationship. Next story. Am I the a-hole for freaking out at my friends after they implied my husband was a predator? I, 27 female, and my husband, 29 male, have been together for 10 years and married for 6. He's the love of my life. When we got together, he moved in with me and my family, because I lived with my parents at the time in a very expensive city. I have 3 younger siblings, 16 female, 14 male, and 12 female. For all their 14th birthdays, I've always said I would take them on a trip. We took my sister on a trip for her 14th birthday, and now at the end of this month, we are taking my little brother. My husband and my brother get along better than anyone. Neither of them have a brother. My husband has a sister, and my brother is the only boy out of the 6 of us. So they gravitate toward each other, and it's incredibly sweet to see. It's like they were meant to be brothers. Last night, I was hanging out with a few of my friends, and I was talking about how we are planning on taking my brother on a trip. I joked about how I would be third-wheeling the entire time because they get along so well. A few of my friends laughed, but one of them gave me a weird look. She said that sounded really weird and inappropriate if my husband was giving my younger brother more attention than me. I said no, it wasn't like that at all. They just get along well, and it was a joke. That friend then said it was inappropriate that my almost 30-year-old husband is so close with my brother who is a minor, and that she wouldn't be surprised if it was a grooming situation and I was blind to it. I freaked the heck out, not gonna lie. I yelled at her. How dare she imply anything like that about my husband, whom she has met and gets along with? I told her she was the pervert for thinking that my husband, who was the only boy in his family, bonding with my younger brother, who is the only boy in ours, was inappropriate. I left and went home. Since then, the group chat has been blowing up with people taking sides. Some agreeing that it is kinda weird, and others saying she was way out of line and needs to get over herself. I haven't told my husband because I don't want him to feel weird, but I'm starting to feel bad about how I handled it, wondering if I overreacted and should have just left. Am I the a-hole? Lol, WTF. Absolutely not the a-hole. I would have lost my mind if I was in your position. It's like someone telling that my boyfriend getting along so well and bonding with my nephew is creepy. No girl, you're creepy for taking a brotherly/friendly bond and immediately assuming it's sexual. Barf. I completely agree. Also, it makes me wonder how messed up your friend's life is. Opie needs to cut off this friendship and tell her husband. Imagine finding out your wife's friends think you're a pedo. It would be a betrayal if he wasn't kept in the loop here. If he finds out later, he might think his wife was complicit. Not the a-hole, as long as they haven't seen your partner with your brother. If they have, they may have been trying to raise concerns about something they've witnessed. Otherwise, it's totally sweet and normal for long-term partners to be close to the siblings of their partner. These are my childhood friends. They have seen my husband with my brother, and I can 100% guarantee there has never been anything remotely creepy or sexual going on between them. I'm a housewife. My husband works from home. We are together, no joke, 24/7, and I am always around when he is around my brother. There is nothing. I just check in to see if she just lived through grooming herself and kinda just sees it everywhere. At this point, I don't give a damn if she had. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law that her boyfriend needs to move out of the house? Well, I haven't told my wife and her sister yet that the sister's boyfriend needs to move out. I want to cross my T's and dot my I's legally first. Nonetheless, here is the situation. I, 40 male, bought a house with my wife while I was living overseas. My wife allowed her sister, her 2 kids, and the sister's boyfriend to move into the house with her since I wasn't living there. The boyfriend, 30 male, quickly claimed the garage and made it his man cave. My wife didn't care, as she never went to the garage. When I say he made it his man cave, I mean that he stays down there all day and often sleeps there. He comes out to go to work, unless he has been laid off, goes to the bathroom, and raids the refrigerator since he doesn't eat meals with a family. After being overseas for almost 3 years, I have now lived in the house for nearly 2 years. At my wife's request, I have looked into buying a second home. That way, they could rent one of the homes from us, which would also provide me with the space I need in my own house. While we were looking at houses, I allowed him to use the garage. It turns out that we can't buy a second house because, after agreeing to pay $700 a month in rent, they have consistently fallen short by $200 to $400 a month. 8 months ago, I brought home a motorcycle and told him that he needed to make room in the garage so I could rebuild it. He agreed. Unfortunately, he never followed through and continued to sleep in the garage. So, in mid-December, I told him he needed to move his stuff out of the garage, and I gave him a 3-week time frame. Well, we are now well over a month and a half past that deadline. He has told me that he stays in the garage because he doesn't like living here. He has also said that he will remove his stuff from the garage, but he has yet to follow through. He is upset that he has lived here for this long and doesn't understand why everything has to change now. He tells me he doesn't have a place to put his stuff and that his family will move out soon, despite not actually having a time frame. I have pointed out that he can simply pack his stuff in boxes and stack it in a corner, since he is moving anyway. Or he can get a storage unit like I had to, because his family is taking up 3 bedrooms in my garage. His answer to this was to threaten to kick my butt and tell me to talk to my sister-in-law because he doesn't want to talk to me. There is obviously more to the story, but those are the basics. If more details are needed, let me know. I will provide them. Finally, my first inclination was to let him off with a warning and make it clear that under no circumstances should he ever threaten me again because I would go to the police if it ever happened again. However, after sleeping on it, I am leaning toward removing him from the property now. My reason is simple. I wouldn't tolerate him threatening violence against anyone else in the house. So, in that train of thought, threatening me should be no different. Not the a-hole. He's been disrespecting you and threatening you. Time for him to go. Not the a-hole. I had something kind of similar happen to me. I allowed this couple to rent storage space in one of the buildings on the property while they lived in their travel trailer near the garage. It wasn't long before they decided to live in it full-time against my wishes. Eventually, they stopped paying rent but didn't want to leave. Long story short, after more police visits to my house than I can count and thousands of dollars later, I finally managed to legally evict them after a year. The police came and forcibly removed them from the property because even at that point, they still refused to leave. Such a joke. What I learned from this nightmare was, don't wait to start the legal process. Get a landlord's advocate, a professional who specializes in winning evictions for landlords. Even if you think you can handle the mountain of paperwork and legal process yourself, get one anyway. Do this right away, family or not. If you call the police, all they will do is tell you this is a civil issue and needs to be taken to court unless there is actual physical violence, of course. Let's hope it never comes to that extreme. Good luck to you, and I hope everything works out for the best. Yep, this right here. Most states favor the tenant, and it takes a year to get someone out.